Uh-oh.
Okay. Well, welcome, welcome. So happy to have Dr. Mary Lamia here today for our live Q&A. We did such a wonderful interview, got so much information from her during my From Discord to Harmony series. Dr. Mary Lamia is a renowned psychologist, and she's an author of 6 books. And two of the most recent ones are Grief Isn't Something to Get Over, Finding a Home for Memories and Emotions After Losing a Loved One, and The Upside of Shame, Therapeutic Interventions Using the Positive Aspects of Negative Emotions. So let's welcome Dr. Mary Lamia.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. One thing too, I remember in memory, I don't know, she's busy preparing for her half marathon that she's going to be doing tomorrow. But I remember when she was watching your interview, she kept texting me, and she was like, "I feel like I'm in a therapy session right now. I'm learning so much." And so I just want to follow up on some questions, and then everyone that has any questions, just chime in or throw them in the chat, and then we will get them
Oh,
to
there's a chat.
Dr. Mary Lamia.
Where's
So,
the
And I would
chat at?
love for Dr. McGowan to participate because he is an expert
Chat.
on politics and how people think and how people relate to one another.
okay, great, awesome. So yes, please chime in anytime you feel like it. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So to kick it off, we discussed a lot about emotional roots of beliefs. You mentioned our beliefs are shaped by emotional memories stored in a mental file cabinet. How can someone begin identifying the emotional roots of a belief they hold strongly but don't understand why?
Wow, that's a difficult one.
I
Uh-huh.
Sitting
came
there
came out the gate hard.
analyzing, but it's possible. If we're curious about how we think and what we think, and curiosity about our beliefs is really important. So we can probably start thinking back on how we felt in different scenarios that come into our head, different memories that come into our head, especially regarding political situations, and the emotions that we felt. For example, uh, were our parents fearful of a certain political party?
Hmm.
Or did they express anger or disgust? And how did we integrate that into our belief system? Or did we incorporate that into how we felt about certain people, certain groups? So there's identification with parents and important figures in our life. Teachers, certainly. Teachers can sway a child or even a college student's way of thinking
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
by expressing their beliefs. Dr. McGowan knows that as a professor, certainly. Um, but some emotions have they seem to have a greater valence than others, like disgust is really strong. That's real powerful. Anger, fear.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of them are powerful. Shame is powerful. Distress is powerful. And
Right.
so Uh, if we look at the more positive emotions, now labeling emotions as positive or negative has nothing to do with their value. It simply distinguishes how they motivate us by the way they make us feel. Like a positive emotion, such as interest, can motivate us to pursue knowledge, or a negative emotion like fear can make us want to run.
Hmm.
So it's how they motivate us. It's not that they're good or bad.
Right.
Uh, and so, to have an interest in your own emotional life is very important. Why
Mm-hmm.
you feel the way you do, why some people disgust you, why some people excite you,
Hmm. Yeah.
what
Oh,
makes that work?
and, right. And so, oh, look, Jerry's popped in too. Um, Dr. How do you say it? McCowan? You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Yes, Dr. McGowan.
Okay. Okay. You have any thoughts on that as well?
I think she's absolutely correct, Dr. Lamia. And we often do disagree a lot.
Hmm.
But I think she's shaking her head, yes, and publicly, but we agree much more than disagree, and she's absolutely correct on that. And by the way, Dr. Lamia, I'm not here to randomly or to give you grief. I'm here to learn. And I'd actually forgotten about this, and I was just so pleased that I had signed up for this a while back, and I was just like, yeah, got me out of cutting the grass. And because it's always just such a great opportunity to be able to listen to you talk about something, just talk about wonderful things, because you really are, just in my opinion, and I'm sorry, I'm just going to divulge for a second. You
No.
are the best clinician I've ever met, and I met Carl Rogers and hung around with him a few times. My professor was trained by him. And Dr. Lamia has as much empathy as Carl did, and that to me
Oh,
says a lot.
Mhm.
Okay,
I
Uh,
fish
enough of
bees out of the swimming pool.
right. Enough of that. But I do agree that our political alliances and political feelings often come from our families early in life, and we often don't are not able to identify them, and so we bring those templates and drag them through, and
Well,
sometimes. Mhm.
yeah, that is so much the case. But I just wanted to get back to you saying, often we have publicly disagreed and debated, and it's always been delightful. Now, why
Oh
would
yeah.
it be delightful that somebody with his status would refute what I have to say, or that I would refute what he has to say? It's because if you think you can learn from somebody else, and we can learn from everybody, then we're so much more ahead of the game. And we can learn from everybody, even a small child we can learn from.
Mhm.
And so when we have a rupture, especially regarding political beliefs, how do we understand one another? How do you step back and be interested and curious rather than combative?
Right.
And that's the biggest question, how do we operate in the world when there's a disagreement? And it doesn't have to be about political beliefs. It could be about anything. Where to store the
Mhm.
frying pan. I mean, if it's your partner. But it's important to stop and step away from your own beliefs and be curious about the other person and why they think the way they do.
Right. And you mentioned curiosity in this one, and then also you were talking about discussing shame. And I actually had two follow-up questions regarding both of those, or all three of those actually. So the role of curiosity, you emphasize curiosity um, as an antidote to judgment and division. What are some questions someone can keep in the back pocket to use when they feel triggered or emotionally charged in a disagreement?
Um, Tell me more about what you're thinking, you might ask.
So, say for instance, someone feels like
And I just did
Trump,
it with you. Tell me more
right,
about
right,
what you're
right.
thinking.
Like, so say for instance, I have the opinion that, say, I had the opinion that Trump is destroying our government system and not following kind of constitutional rules and so forth.
Just
And
saying you saying that.
yeah, no, I really believe that. But just say,
just
And
but
just
that's
and
say
let's say
just
I'm
say
a
it's really
strong
not happening. Yes,
let's
right.
say I'm a
I'm a
strong
Republican,
Trump.
and I believe that. I'm a registered Republican, and I believe that. So
yeah, I'm so intelligent.
So,
Yes.
so I would have to ask you more about, tell me what you mean. What do you think he's
So, for instance,
destroying?
we have certain, things in the Constitution, protections, equal rights, and that's part of in the, civil rights, and he's, walking things back that people worked so hard to get in place. But if I'm talking to someone that feels like that's a good thing to do that, how would I curious in the conversation be curious about their position, like why do they feel like walking civil rights back is a good thing?
And so that's what you would ask.
Hmm.
Right.
Tell me what you believe. I'm really interested in why you think walking civil rights back is a good thing. I want to understand that better and be sincere about it. I mean, you need to understand where somebody's coming from in order to change their beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
there's that word again, interest. You have to be
Right.
interested. You got to
Right.
give a fuck, you know.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but
Most people don't care about what somebody thinks if they think differently. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter what it is. Like, you like onions? Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
that's so
So
true.
it's the same kind of thing. We're so egocentric. We
Mm-hmm.
would like to think other people think the way we do. I've seen a lot of married couples who are of different political persuasions than their spouse and who take it very, very personally. I'm surprised there aren't more divorces around elections, and maybe there are
And
some,
There.
right. Yeah.
but rather than be curious, they are forcing their views upon the other. So I always have them think about it as, what if you liked oysters and your partner didn't like oysters or thought they were disgusting? What would you say to them? What would you do? Or how would you answer if they say, well, why do you like oysters? Or I'm disgusted by you eating oysters. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It's a belief, it's a preference, something we hold on to. We adhere to our beliefs as though they're for dear life, and we don't need to.
Mm-hmm.
Because if somebody's not going to change your point of view, what risk is there in being curious about theirs?
Mm-hmm.
I got a new word for this week. It's I was interested if you've heard of it. It's imperturbable.
Imperturbable. Wow.
And having the ability to be imperturbability. It's hard. That's a mouthful to try to say the whole thing. Imperturbability. To be imperturbability. To have the imperturbability. But I can say imperturbable. That's
That
easier.
one should have been in the
Uh,
spelling bee.
right.
Right.
And it's not to be perturbed by someone's oh, uh, someone's opinion, someone's choice of food. Can you hear me still? Am
Yeah,
I?
we hear you. Mm-hmm.
Because my thing, something happened.
Yeah. No, we hear you
And
fine.
and why do we get so perturbed?
Yeah,
What emotion
I
does
don't know.
somebody else's belief cause? Oh, Jerry, I didn't say hi to you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi,
Somewhere
Jerry.
in your face. What emotion does somebody else's contrary belief activate in us that makes us so perturbed? And a big one is shame.
Mm-hmm.
Because it shames us as though, especially when we're being accused of having a belief that's antithetical to theirs or the best interest of the country or whatever it happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's shame, there's fear, and anger gets triggered.
Right. And so, one thing though, because when you speak on that, it's, I know we talked about before regarding the whole food analogy, but I always wonder though, for people who feel morally repelled, by certain ideologies, because it messes with your value system, right? How can they work through that emotional block enough to still communicate to, human to human?
When we're repelled, what emotion comes up? Disgust. Disgust makes you want to get away.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make
Perturbed.
yeah, there you go. And so, I mean, if spoiled milk disgusts you, you're not
Ugh.
going to sit there and sniff it
Right.
more than once.
Yeah.
So, and people become the same way, and when we feel disgust, for example, in a relationship, that makes people leave if they
Mm-hmm.
can't work it through. And so disgust is very powerful in terms of running,
Mm-hmm.
and being repelled. So how do we get through disgust? Well, if it's something right in front of you and you really have to deal with it, you smile. The smile response tends to, uh, I don't know, be a barrier to disgust for some reason. But
Mm-hmm.
so how do we smile when somebody has a different belief system smile inside, like, this is interesting. It would convert it to something you want to have a conversation about. It can. But we get so disgusted and angry that we attack.
Mm-hmm.
And shame makes us attack too.
Yeah. Yeah. Jerry, do you have any comments or questions?
Well, when we get into talking about shame,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Jerry and I talked about it.
Shame.
so I do want to talk about it because it's relevant to the series that this conversation was in, and it's also relevant to obviously the Soulful Renewal series that I did, but it is also relevant to the one that I'm running right now, which is Beyond the Uniform: Healing the Hidden Wounds.
Mm.
And what I found in 18 more discussions was that there is this level of shame and this level of disgust and this level of not being able to get past a belief system about military validity that it separates so many different sects of community inside of the military. And I really have been trying to figure out through the entire course of this second series, how do I get these people to see that they're not that different?
Mm-hmm.
How do I allow them to have a dialogue? Because Biden did this actually towards the end of his term. He took a lot of veteran affairs, a lot of people that worked in the veteran space, and he brought them together because there were queer people that were disenfranchised and then, felt to believe that they had to live in this shame, right? And then there were hardcore military people that were like, this is the way, kind of like in The Mandalorian. This is the way, this is the only way. And so I'm really interested in figuring out, I know we smile. I've seen that a lot. We smile when that shame and that disgust come because we really, I know I laugh a lot. I'm just like, I can't even believe this is happening right now. But, how do we teach people to honor their core belief, but also understand that the only way to get through it, to get through a lot of these things, this political grief they're feeling, this sense of loss of identity they're feeling, is to actually communicate with each other. Because I didn't know I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know what I was getting into with the Beyond the Uniform. I thought that I would have way more military men show up as a result of their core beliefs about the military and veteran affairs and things like that. And what wound up happening was people had lost their voice and had been shamed to the point where they were so exuberant that they had a platform to say anything. And that wound up being women, and it wound up being people from the LGBTQ plus community because they had been so disenfranchised and didn't see any other way but to form their own organizations. And now they're in a climate where they are once again not even being disenfranchised, but being erased.
Yeah.
So I'm going to circle back. So the question is, on a very basic level, in terms of as you know, Dr. Mary, I write these things on Monday to kind of bridge the gap and support people where they are. And I'm wondering what kind of languaging I can use to support people and navigating their grief in a way that allows them to open up to more communication and different views.
Or to not impose shame on others or take on the shame of others.
Exactly.
Because that's the tough one. A lot of disenfranchised people feel a lot of shame.
Yeah.
But it's not theirs.
Yes. And I had two people out of 18 people know that. 2 out of 18. I mean, grown adults that have navigated. And only two people were super clear that it was not their shame to own.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest, what would you say they primarily felt?
And the rest were intuitively what I felt. The rest were stuck in some level of anger and stuck in some level of apathy.
Mm.
I even had someone say to me, "What you're doing is an amazing thing. It is great. Good luck."
I know you're gonna need
Mm-hmm.
So that apathy sounds more like helplessness. And
Yeah.
helplessness is feeling shame and withdrawing. And that's dangerous.
Yes.
So we have to ask, what can we learn in those situations on either side? And nobody asks, what can I learn? What
Yeah.
can I learn from this other person? What can I learn from the situation? What can I learn from the way in which I respond and have responded all my life?
Yeah.
But when we adhere to a particular point of view, when we're stuck in that, we're not learning.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing that was an eye opener for some of them. Because at the end of every segment, I said, "May we live in love, light, and learning today and every day."
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, go ahead.
oh no, and I could see in moments when they heard the word learning that the light bulb went off a little bit.
Yeah. Learning is the key. And that's something we have to teach children when we see them develop these points of view and get really stuck in it, that they'll only hang out with certain kids or that certain other kids are bad or whatever they want to name them, or
Yeah.
races or religions,
Mm-hmm.
to learn from them, to learn from everybody. And if we get defensive, we never achieve. What I was going to say is that I once submitted a book proposal, and Dr. McGowan happened to be one of the reviewers for it. And what I learned was so incredible, despite his criticism. It was because of his criticism, and he was brutal, but I learned,
Yeah.
and it was wonderful. It was like, what a gift
Mm-hmm.
that we can learn from somebody who offers a critique.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We learn more from that, I would say.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We learn more from the critique and more from the disappointment. Let me say that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
To step back because we don't know everything. And so some people who adhere to a certain viewpoint, despite anything anybody tries, I mean, then they're limited. Don't we see them
Yeah.
as limited?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we're going into judgment when we do that.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned kids, about how do we, about teaching our kids. I do have a question regarding that actually. How early can we begin teaching kids about the emotional roots of beliefs And what is the simplest way to start these conversations at home or in schools?
I think the best way is to first teach them about emotions. So when a kid is struggling with an emotion, let's say disappointment, or that's not an emotion, that's a combination of emotions, let's say some kind of distress or anger, to
Mm-hmm.
to ask them questions about it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, what makes you angry about that? And what did you think? Because there's always a cognition associated with an emotion, and cognition can be poison.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's what we think that we hold on to that hurts us. Or um, especially shame, when kids feel shame. Oh, that felt really bad. It felt like your whole self was bad, but you're not bad. Let's see what we can learn from that. Let's see what we can learn from getting a C instead of an A.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's a big one in school. If you could help a child get over the hump of not knowing something.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
That's so hard. It's so shaming when you're a kid
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and you can't do that mad minute, or you can't, do the spelling, or whatever you can't do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you want to give up and withdraw instead of learn from it. So it's learning about emotions and not to be afraid of them and to just explore them a bit
Yeah.
rather than, okay, let it go and the next day it's over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then I can even see again how that not by now addressing how you can move into apathy because you feel withdrawn and so forth. And you talked a little bit about apathy when we were talking about the veterans, and we talked about quite a bit, I think, in our first interview. But for those who say they're just too overwhelmed or busy to, care about politics, how can we distinguish true apathy from emotional exhaustion or avoidance?
Yeah, well, that's a big question. I'm not sure. It's hard to distinguish that. They're pretty much one and the same, aren't they? Withdrawal.
Mm-hmm.
Withdrawal and avoidance is something we do when we do feel helpless or shame or
Mm-hmm.
guilt or many other things.
Yeah. So how would you encourage people to move out of apathy and whether in action or just being more connected with their emotions to be able to talk to other people,
Yes, if you're
and have the
apathetic, you're not feeling.
mm-hmm.
You're withdrawn from your own emotions. So the bottom line with emotions is that emotions make us care.
Mm-hmm.
In the positive or negative ways, they make us care. And if you don't feel an emotion, you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
I think I may have mentioned this to one of you. The absence of love is not hate, it's indifference.
Mm-hmm.
If you
Mm-hmm.
hate your ex-partner, you still care.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we make somebody care? How do we uh, engage them emotionally? I suppose it would have to be something that's personal to them.
Mm-hmm.
So find something that's personal to them that relates to the politics and engage them that way.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Or personal to you to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried about my father-in-law who, has this illness and now he can't get treated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make the human connection, you know. So what's going on in each other's lives and so forth. And Jerry, I see your hand is raised.
Yeah, I raised my hand. I was trying to be proper. But you said a couple of things that we're talking about emotions, and you asked about like how do you navigate emotional exhaustion. Um and part of I personally feel part of the problem is there are a lot of emotionally illiterate situations in America.
Mhm.
I feel like it has gotten a little better in more recent times because of technology and exposure, but we have whole generations that are emotionally illiterate
Mhm.
in terms of how are they going to,
Don't get me
you know,
started.
So when we're talking about emotions and sharing emotions and addressing emotions and admitting emotions, if I don't know how to even identify, quantify, acknowledge, witness what an emotion, what, the vastness of what emotions can be. I mean, I think we got to start with some basics, right?
Right,
Definitely.
but we all feel them. We may not be able to label them properly, yet we all feel emotion,
Yeah.
and we're all motivated by emotion as well as thought.
Well, I see a book cover right now with a capital E and a huge giant I, EI, which is a buzz term going around now. It's titled Emotional Intelligence. And a lot of people don't even understand how those two are connected, because it stems back to what the doctor said when she started this conversation: interest. Lacking the interest in the first place. Because with this book sell, if I put it out, emotional intelligence, and I described several ways that Jerry was talking about too, especially my own culture, and especially in education and business, as an entertainer, producer, anytime, if you don't have the emotional intelligence to be imperturbable in certain contexts, in certain situations, or you can be in a group talking about anything, and then here comes some pretty girl and it changes the whole dynamic of the conversation, and you get razzled by it, and then now you're blown out of the meeting and you lose your deal. And if you don't know that emotional intelligence is connected, and it's even goes far back. I always try to say this, and I hope this doesn't affect anybody, but anybody, you know the whole story of Tulsa, Oklahoma, the whole Black Wall,
Black
the
Wall
Wall
Street.
Street.
Oh, yeah.
You got to understand, when that ended, there was no job placements for those people. There were no mental health tents like at Uvalde and all that kind of stuff. There was no, my mic keeps messing with me, so I can hope you hear me.
Yeah,
No
we can,
job
you hear fine.
relocation. There was no hospitalization. They just told them, just move on, just go. And the people that did this, and the people who do this and continue to work this way, in a stealth-like way today, maybe not as dramatic, do not have the emotional intelligence themselves, even though they promote this shit in business and CEOs and venture capitalism and so on and so forth. But they don't act on it or seem to know that they're connected, that it would serve them well too, to be emotionally intelligent, to care about another individual, to care about. I'm always perturbed. What's wrong with the concept of love? I like to go to the UN, stand up in the front there, and just ask that question. Can somebody give me, what is the problem? What's wrong with the concept of love? And they'll tell me there ain't no money in it. And I tell them, well, they've never been in love then, because it's costed me everything. And we can go on and on with this, but I think you guys understand. I see a lot of, especially my culture, don't even have a literal, like Jerry was saying, the literacy to connect these two things. And then the people who create such adversity for the rest of us, let's say, don't have it either. And if they're not interested, as you have spoken so eloquently when you opened this up, they have no interest in caring about the rest of us. Well, we have a big, and almost, and I think that's where it relies, you become the change. It almost relies on you to be that change, to be that empathetic person. I always like to say, it's my business to love you, and it's not my business to care what you think about me. And if that makes sense here in this group.
Yeah.
Like after I go and after I've spoken, I don't know what you think about. I don't care. But I love you.
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I just think it's somehow it has to multiply, you know,
But
and I go
what do
ahead.
you do with what do you do if people are so pathologically narcissistic that they think they can destroy a culture, a neighborhood, another person, and not
Those of those of us who are connected know that's impossible. It's not theirs to destroy. It's not. As a matter of fact, if I continue loving you, I'm going to piss you off,
and
and
so
you're going to stop doing what you're doing eventually, even if it's not by your own hand.
being connected with others is really powerful in terms of defeating that.
Mm-hmm.
And being connected with something bigger than all of us is also very powerful. You know, before there was Zoom and internet and Mark Zuckerberg, there was just the side of your bed and you got down on your fucking knees for most of us. And there was no payphone or no beeper. There was nothing. It was just me and this higher power I thought that existed that somebody told me about. And I tried to learn. But I do know without it, oh, it's very chaotic. And you can't have the love you want to have for people who don't have it for you. But if you can do that, and there is a thing called killing them with kindness, and Danita will tell you, she has witnessed me doing, I have done it. I just love them so much until they love themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they get a little upset at me, but hey,
Mm-hmm.
now
Well,
you're
if
okay.
you see what Daryl Davis did with Ku Klux Klan members
Mm-hmm.
Mm,
and how
Yes.
he had them give up their robes just from knowing him,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
empathized. He
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
got through, and that's how he got through with his curiosity and
Mm-hmm.
His
interest.
interest. Yes.
Yeah.
Curiosity. That's the word.
Mm-hmm. And also what you're saying too, really, be the change that you want to see, so how you're carrying yourself amongst the people even that you disagree with,
Yeah.
like, with loving them and not caring about what they think of you, you know.
Hugging them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
When
And
they know
that's
you
with
probably
children
don't want
too.
to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
To be a good
especially.
be a good example, that's all you can be.
Right.
Well, that is profound because to me, one of the most moving pieces of scripture were when they tried to bait Jesus, when they said, "Hey, the Romans are making us, walk, a mile and carry their stuff," and he said, "Well, great, carry it 2 miles."
Yeah.
Basically, and B.F. Skinner, the behaviorist, said that's an amazing example of extinction because what you take away their power when you
Yes.
you tell them, hey, it doesn't bother me anymore,
Mm-hmm.
I
and that's
got you.
what exactly, and it takes, I don't want to say a profound mind, but to look at it at a higher level than feeling resentment and hate for these people that impose their values on me. It's at the level of you've done this to me, but I'm gonna outsmart you by saying it doesn't matter anymore.
So having a
Yeah.
sense of agency rather than being a victim.
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's
Yes.
Exactly.
it. Having a sense of
Sense of
agency.
agency.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Hire yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't
Yes.
matter to me what you do, and to do it
Yes.
with a smile,
Right.
and I don't care what your response is. And the Buddha did it, and all of the great religious leaders taught it,
Yep.
and it's very very hard to do, but and I can't do it certainly because I'm all about aggressing against people and being vindictive and all that stuff. But you could see that it would work, and you'd see the
Yes.
few people that did it. I mean, Nelson Mandela, when he went up, and went up with the Springbok soccer team and shook their hands, or rugby team. I mean, people thought he was going to go out there and create an incident, but he went out there and shook their hands. These racist guys that put him in prison for 26 years, 28 years in total, and he went up there and said, "We're all brothers. Let's rebuild this country." I mean, my goodness, where did that come from? I mean, I just have no conception of the amount of forgiveness that came from,
Love.
and so to tap into that. Or Dr. King when he said, I just, I won't go there with you, but I can see it. I can't imagine that humility and that's a higher place than I could ever be. Seriously.
Yeah.
But that's where we all have to go. I don't
Right.
have it, at least not in this lifetime. but I can
Well, it's
point to
not
other
over
people.
yet, William. It's
Right, and
not.
you
It's
can
not
continue to
over yet.
aspire. Yeah.
Right,
Thanks.
Yeah, the
exactly.
potential for enlightenment still exists to this, as we're in this moment now. Nothing can
Mm-hmm.
touch us as long as we
Right.
stay here
Mhm.
now. And
Yeah,
the potential for enlightenment for you is just as great as any one of us on this thing.
thanks.
And
And
so,
how
Well,
can we
how do
grow? I'm
you,
sorry, go ahead. Mhm.
Dr. McCowan, how do you influence? I mean, you work at one of the universities in the poorest area of the
Mhm.
country.
Mhm. Yeah.
where's
How do
that?
you influence people to be different than their parents or grandparents, or to get out of poverty, or have a different way of life, or to get the college education?
I'm in northern Louisiana, and we have a life expectancy lower than in North Korea. And it's just and that's sad. That's for Caucasians and Black folk, and for everybody. So it's just a very poor area, and it's a generation of institutional just poverty, and aspirations for a lot of these kids are to go to Disney World, and that's it, or maybe to go two parishes over. And that's just kind of what they want to do. Where when you're younger, you dream of a profession, and these kids dream of really nothing. 70% start college and don't make it. What you do is you start, telling them that it's okay to have dreams, and it's okay to have big dreams, and it's okay to fail the first few times. And if you fail once, it doesn't mean the end of everything. Gosh darn, I failed. I drove a truck when I got out of college. And I talk about the stories of other people that have failed, and I speak their language. If they're liberal, if they're trans, I can talk with them at that level. If they're conservative, I can talk with them according to their beliefs. And I'm not phony by any means. I come off and try to be as genuine as possible and not condemn them where they are, and not be self-righteous or whatever. And I realize that their lives are full of things that I can't understand, whether they're black or white or Latin origin or whatever. They've got stressors that to me are going to be amazing. When someone says, yeah, my dad's just getting out of prison. He had sex with my sister when he was, when I was 4. I've never gone through that. I can't imagine how that's influencing their dynamics with their faculty, with their fellow students. But I know that that's going to influence their study habits. And so when they say, "I'm sorry, I missed my exam because I was having flashbacks over this thing that my dad's going through," I have to take them at their word. I have to have faith that they can be better, and I try to give it to them that they can be better versions of themselves. And I don't know exactly what that means, but I take it on faith that they can do better. And I try to let them know that we don't judge them, and that they don't have to have the shame that they're carrying around.
So
And when they
you
hear,
affirm their value.
Say it again.
You affirm their value.
Mm-hmm.
well, I will say, Dr. Mary, that when you've talked to many of them, and I've had that from 40 of them, they've said, "Thank you. It's so great to have someone outside of our area tell us that we have value," and and that's remarkable. Because a lot of them have the idea that really nobody other than, I hate to say it, but President Trump values them. And to have someone who is particularly for the women, someone that says, "Hey, she's someone I could be someday." It's really remarkable. That it just makes them feel that they have a capacity to move on in life and do good things.
So part of it is identifying with somebody else. So if you're talking to somebody, I mean, those kids aside, but let's say you're speaking to a friend who has different belief system than you, and you run the risk of not being friends anymore because of it, then one thing that would help is to help them identify with you, or for you to identify with them in some way
There,
to
yeah, and
connect.
there are plenty of people that I've done that with, and we would identify areas where we have common beliefs, and there are people, sadly, where I've had to limit aspects of my friendship with, because you talk about people being toxic. There are people that their beliefs have gotten to the point where they become toxic,
Mm-hmm.
and we all know that, and we have to. One of your wonderful books was The White Knight Syndrome. We all want to come in there on a personal level and save people that we saw that were normal until they had really aberrant political or or religious or cultural beliefs, particularly if they were very effective, caring people. Maybe that's not our calling. And we have to let them know that we respect them and care for them. But sometimes we can't go to bat for some of their beliefs. I can give you plenty of examples. It's not the really place for it, but sometimes we have to draw a line for us and the people that we care about, and for our own well-being, and that is very difficult. I had a very, very, very good friend that I had to do that with, and he, because his beliefs got crazier and crazier and crazier over the years, and he was someone that did a lot for me earlier on, and and we only keep rare contact with each other now, and it's sad. He's a brilliant person, but he was just believed some weird stuff. I mean, just some really weird white supremacist stuff, which he didn't believe when we became friends. And I have no way of saving him. I'd love to, but I can't. And I mean, I really there's nothing I can do. And as superficial as I kept the contact, it would start to seep more and more and more, and it was tragic. So, and that would have happened with him, I think, in any part of the country. So, nothing I can do, and you try to point it out to him, and you just kind of, okay, we will still be friends, and when we can talk about other things, I'm still here. We can talk about cars or whatever, or welding or church organs or whatever our common interests are, but we can't discuss these things. So that's, we have our ground rules, and it's the best we can do.
Yeah, I've literally had to create those for myself. I am that kid that had visitors come to their house to pretend to be their father for the week.
Ooh,
yeah. That had sex with blah blah blah, and I could go on. I have that actually even the root of the people that I came from was North Carolina, but I grew up and I was institutionalized my entire life as a child, et cetera, and I had inmates come over my home, jumping out of the shower, and they with my mom now, and I ended up being in entertainment, stand up, and part of that joke was I belonged to the Father of the Week Club. And it was just, and it goes on and on, but the sadness of it. I can hear in you that you have the compassion to relate to a child like me, to make me think I could do something better later in life. I had those people, here and there. In high school, there was one priest that was really cool to me, even though I was a total screw up. But he saw something, and he kept pushing that button and kept saying, "You're going to be better than this. You're going to do better than this." And I end up. That's why even while you were talking, it got me, because I know them. I grew up white, black, Latino. I grew up with them. I was locked up with them, and then I came out and fell into all of it. I don't even know how much I want to put on here because it's a public thing.
I hear you.
But I want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing, because you're going to grab some boy like me or some girl like me who don't know how the fuck she going to get out of this. How I'm ever going to leave this community, this household, this family, this way of life. And you're going to make it possible for that person, for that child.
After meeting those kids in Monroe, Louisiana, I wanted to move there. I'm totally addicted to them. They're what's not strange to me, but what's fascinating is that there was a higher level of emotional intelligence in those impoverished kids than any graduate student I've ever had in Berkeley.
Absolutely.
And so what is that? What power they have and don't even know they have. The ability to look inside themselves and think about things.
Yeah, because of the economics, during COVID, I wrote some books that have to do with one of the reasons of illiteracy. There's so much illiteracy, civic-minded illiteracy, the emotional illiteracy, and the big and the hugest one of all for all of us, even the people here on this Zoom, is financial literacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's time for us, as much as we can. It's not enough we got to help this next generation to know how to succeed in life. It's not enough to become the class president or get a scholarship to go to a college and be a pro star. You could win the Nobel Peace Prize, and they give you $1 million for that, and you'll be broke and deprived in less than a year because you have no way to understand how economics work. Mm-hmm. We're not teaching our generations of kids and youngsters, starting in middle school and beyond, those nuts and bolts, so that they can live the way they want to and not the way you demand that they do. And this goes all the way back to the Gilded Age and the Vanderbilts and the Rocker and how they designed the education and how they intentionally left out a major part of society, 80% of us, black, white, I don't care what you are, citizens, intentionally left out. So we would have to beg, borrow, and steal for their shit. We would have to grovel to be a part of their institution, their working class. Oh, did I do a good job today? Like I tell people all the time, slavery was never abolished. It was reformed. It's been recreated on a daily basis. It constantly is. And if we don't start teaching our children, this next generation, how to actually succeed civically, emotionally, and financially on this planet, we're setting them up for the same debt sentence that we all suffer.
That's right. There's a lot of kinds of literacy out there that kids don't learn.
Exactly.
And it's hurting when they get to the 20s and the 30s, and we know better now. And fortunately, I do feel there are a lot like these kind of conversations going on now. I do feel that there are more people interested in providing that for the next generation.
Jerry, and didn't he?
They are amazing. Yeah, they're amazing indeed, and so are you.
But even the simple things we do as parents. I mean, for example, I don't know when it was, maybe 20 years ago or so, somebody coined the term timeout and made it okay to do timeouts with kids. And so if your kid's acting up, you stick them in a room, you're going to have a timeout. It shames the kid, but there's never any resolution. There's never any learning.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It must elevate.
Things like that catch on, that are poison.
Right. So and it's like no dialogue to make the situation better, to, correct the behavior or talk it through. Why did you do this? Or why are you feeling this way? Or what are you feeling? Identifying these things and so forth. Memory, I know you was busy with other things, but we're about to wrap up. Did you have anything that you wanted to ask or comment on?
No, but I just wish I could talk with all of you forever.
Yeah, of course. Did anyone have any other questions or anything?
I was going to say something. It's Dr. McCowan, right? Dr. McCowan, I really appreciate in what you shared earlier that a factor in what you do is faith, is having faith in the children. Because I think a lot of times, we get into the religion of things as opposed to the faith and the spirituality of things. And it makes a huge difference in a life, because I know that in my own life, to some degree, I could not have achieved or overcome or weathered a lot of things had there not been some level of faith that was instilled in me as a result of seeing someone else have faith.
In me.
Exactly. In me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's to me is the true miracle, is when you have faith in someone else, they will rise to the to that level. And I don't understand the process. Judas didn't make it, but the other 11 did.
Right.
And so in my therapy practice, I try to try to hit 1 out of 10 maybe. And in teaching, if I can get to 1 out of 20, that's good enough. But gosh darn, I mean, you set the expectations high and hope and pray but trust also. And that's but you keep trying. And that's really kind of for me what life's about. And I'm glad you all absolutely agree. And trauma makes it so hard for these folks, but we just gotta keep trying. And I appreciate that we have like minds here. And please don't keep quiet. Keep talking.
I don't think I know how to keep quiet anymore.
It reminds me of you guys. She's talking about being parents. You remember when you're babies, if your nephews, even if you're not a parent, you got babies. But you ever see that baby hit that wall, just run into the wall, bam, and then how you react is how they react. And if you, oh my God, oh no, she hurt
then the
herself.
tears
And
are
then
gonna flow.
Oh, they're gonna flow, and you're gonna give her everything she wants, right? Or you can start laughing. He's like, that was fun. That was a good hit, And then they turn around and they laugh.
And they laugh.
Act like they didn't run into a wall. The trauma wasn't there no more because of how you saw it, how you reacted to it. A lot of times it aren't our actions that really matter. Is our reactions to things and to everyone that seems to matter.
Yeah.
So have patience, maybe too.
Yeah. That would be
Patience.
nice.
Patience really is a virtue.
It really is.
It really is.
It is.
To
Indeed.
be patient with
Definitely.
somebody who thinks differently, to be patient with somebody who continually fails.
And with yourself, so you don't have to react that way.
Yeah.
Just let them be.
Surrender to the process.
Let them be. Love them as they are.
Surrender to the moment.
Yeah. And going back to what you were saying, Jerry, about what Dr. McCown said, and because I really was relating to what you were saying about the children, and I started thinking about my own childhood and who poured into me, and it really does. It takes a village. It really, each person that, I'm a kid of the 70s and grew up in a neighborhood that a lot of people consider, really bad, undesirable, and so forth. But everyone that I encountered, and especially in my own family, really poured into me. You can be whatever you want to be. You're from the hood, but you're not of the hood. And those were the things that really, continue to lift me. So.
And to not be your traumas.
Exactly.
Yes.
We aren't our traumas, but nowadays people want to process their trauma and process it again and process it again in order to make it go away. It won't ever go away.
You wonder why we don't get over shit.
Go away.
You guys, I know you guys know the Abraham Hicks and Esther and all them, right? Or you know of them anyway. Yes. But she always says, like, why we never can move and just keep going forward or onward and upwards. It's because we keep celebrating the past. We keep Memorial Day, 9/11, Martin Luther King. We keep fucking going back, and we just won't stay forward with each other and just accept each other as we are and keep growing and evolving in a wonderful way. But instead, we got to remember this tragedy we did, and how tragic of people we are and can be, Like we need constant reminders to see how fucked up we are, we don't.
Well, that's the whole thing about what the understanding or misunderstanding about how grief shows up.
Yeah.
Right. That if I don't remember and live in this, then I somehow
I'm not honoring it.
Right.
Or giving it the attention or acknowledgement it's necessary. Or even identifying the fact that you're grieving.
Now maybe Dr. Mary Lamia can help us understand why this thing has been perpetuated so much that we have to stay in this sadness and this reverence for the trauma and the pain, as opposed to, allowing it to be what it is, knowing that it's going to be with us, but it can coexist with joy and full life.
And that's what I mean by becoming your trauma, becoming your grief.
Yeah, because I'm just like, so
Rather
many
than
people
letting it
teach.
be.
So many people teach that they can just, that it's, the way it's supposed to be is to be in this.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow to be in it gets you past it, which it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
Digs it in.
Doesn't. Yeah, it anchors it, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
If I could call them
I mean,
the
I'm saying
others,
right, like I don't know, but
if you want to call them the others, because there's always contrast to everything we talk about and say, and you could call them the others if you want to, but it's control. It's just a matter. It's a control mechanism to
now
control
that's a whole other
society.
conversation.
Yeah, but to control society, can put you over there and you over there. Why aren't all human rights good for all humans? See, no one can explain this to me.
Mm-hmm.
No one will ever dare. I ask it and I do it jokingly sometimes, but I'm serious as a heart attack. Somebody explain to me, why aren't all human rights good for all humans? Who's divvying up the rights? And why do I need to fight for their rights and those rights are fighting for those rights? It's control. They want control. They want you.
Mm-hmm.
That
They
But
sounds
want
like
to.
part two.
wanting control has an emotion behind it too. It's usually
Right.
It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
fear.
doubt about it. Fear,
fear.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The illusion of control is fear.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like you're trying to let all the animals out of the zoo at one time. That would be pretty scary.
Right.
That would be like, oh my.
So, Memory put in the chat. Thank you, Dr. Mary, for sharing your wisdom with the world. We are all so very grateful. Yes, we are.
We
And
are so very grateful for you, Dr. Mary.
and I just want to thank you
And
again
now,
for
Dr.
being here
McCowan.
and for everyone that showed up today. And unless there's any other final question or
No,
anything.
I just have an announcement.
Sure.
I don't want to interrupt, but I want to have an announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Mary Lamia, your talk with me before was so universal that I am running it again today in the
Oh,
new series so
Jerry,
that
do you want to
people
put the
can
link?
learn.
Do you want to put in the link so they can sign up to see it or join today?
Oh, yeah. Sure. I'll do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
And
great to meet both of you, Dr. Mary. I really love you. I saw her the first thing on the summit that Danita did, where I
oh,
become the VIP and all that. And so that's where I first saw you, and I enjoyed you then, and I'm enjoying you now. Thank you so much.
thank
And
you.
Dr. McCowan, pleasure to see your face. I'm glad you got on the camera.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
You
so
remind me of
glad
one of
he
my acting
joined. I
coaches, my
mean,
theater coaches.
Dr.
Your face.
McCown's my hero.
He's beautiful.
It's such a surprise to see you here.
And please stay encouraged, sir. Stay encouraged.
Thank you, Jerry, for putting that in the chat. And you people, I just learned this whole thing about being able to save the chat about a month ago. Those little three dots at the top, if you hit it and then hit save chat, then it is say at the bottom show and finder, and you can see where that chat will live on your computer.
oh, that's great.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, your episode is gonna wind up being up for the next until Tuesday.
Oh,
So great. So people, so sign up for Jerry's, and then you can see that and some other wonderful, impactful, very powerful interviews she had with these veterans.
well, both of you are, Danita and Jerry, what you do is so impressive.
Mhm. Thank
Aw.
you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. So today is day 5, so it's the last official day. But then tomorrow the encore will start to run for 48 hours. And then you can see all of them. It's some remarkable stories of I have Tia Christopher, who was a military sexual assault or trauma survivor.
Hmm.
but now is, she's one of the most outspoken people in that arena. And Bonnie Carroll, who founded TAPS out in DC, as well as Elizabeth Field from the Elizabeth Dole Foundation.
Wow. And where do people find you?
I'm Googleable.
WallStreetSmarts.com.
Yeah, or you put Ewell Spencer
I put
in
it in the
Google.
chat.
Well, do you do
it's gonna
a comedy thing?
Do I do a comedy thing? Yeah. They'll run out of money before I run out of money.
You have the wit for it.
Yeah, he toured nationally for a long time.
Yeah,
Dave Chappelle actually used to open for him back in the day. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So it's been a long ride.
I'm going to have to look those up.
No, like what a powerhouse team we had here today.
I'm going to be on YouTube the rest of the night. Looking at him.
So again,
well, thank you for having me.
So
great.
Yeah. And I'm going to stop the recording. Though, actually, before I do that, I just wanted to recap some of the things that we learned today. We talked about curiosity. And then we also talked about, I loved how you put it, Yul, about, how do you say, I don't care about how do you say your line?
Oh, it's my business to love you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my business to care what you think about me.
Yes. And then Dr. Mary, you had said some,
interest.
Having a sense of agency over, I didn't get the last line. Do you remember? That was a great line.
What was that? Having a sense of agency.
I remember that.
I did it a few times.
Be the agent. It was too dark to.
I get it, and I did the transcript then, but I went to write it down. So okay, and thank you, Dr. McCown. I'm so happy that you were here. So
me too. I'm happy to have met you.
Yeah,
it was great.
Great. Well, I'm gonna stop the recording, but just to say, everyone have a wonderful day, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Do a salon.
Yes.